AITA for divorcing my husband after catching him in bed with our married neighbor and exposing her to her husband? All right, here it goes. This story is an absolute wreck. And honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything. I, 34F, have been married to my husband, 36M, for 7 years. We have an 8-year-old son who's autistic, and as you can imagine, life can be pretty stressful. But up until recently, I thought we were handling it. Sure, we were juggling work, our son's needs, and all the typical ups and downs of life. I thought we were a team, but apparently, I was dead wrong. We live in a quiet neighborhood where most people know each other. It's a small, cozy community where families are close, and people often chat over the fence, wave to each other when walking their dogs, and share cups of sugar when needed. Our next-door neighbors, Emily, 32F, and Dave, 35M, are a couple we've known for years. I wasn't super close with Emily, but we got along fine. We chat while our kids played together, and sometimes our husbands would hang out for beers on the weekends. I didn't think much of it when my husband and Emily started getting friendlier. After all, we're neighbors, and it's normal for people to socialize, right? At first, I was glad. I thought, great, it's nice that we all get along. That's how neighborhoods should be. But soon I started noticing things. Little things at first, like how my husband would suddenly run into Emily while he was out, or how they'd be talking on the sidewalk for longer than seemed necessary. There was this weird vibe, but I didn't want to overthink it. We've been through so much together. Why would I doubt him? Then the more obvious signs started showing up. He'd become more protective of his phone, which he never used to be. He'd get these text messages late at night, and when I'd ask who it was, he'd brush it off with some lame excuse like, oh, it's just a work thing, or it's nothing important. He'd leave the house after dinner for these random errands that didn't add up. But again, I told myself I was being paranoid. Trust your partner, right? Don't turn into one of those people. I mean, we had a life together, a family, a house, a son who needed both of us. But then, a few weeks ago, everything came crashing down. It was a random Thursday. I had to come home early because our son's school had a half day that totally slipped my mind. I rushed home, thinking I'd quickly grab some lunch and go pick him up. As I walk into the house, the air felt strange, almost too quiet. You know how you can sense something's off? Well, I did. I headed up to our bedroom to grab my phone charger, and that's when my entire world shattered. There, in our bed, was my husband, with Emily. I just stood there, frozen. It's like I stepped into a nightmare. They both jumped up, fumbling to cover themselves. My husband was scrambling for his clothes, while Emily just sat there, crying and babbling something about how it was a mistake and how sorry she was. But none of it registered. My ears were ringing, and I could barely think. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't do anything. I just walked out of the room, out of the house, got in my car, and drove to pick up my son. For the rest of the day, I was numb. I tried to act normal for my son, but I couldn't get the image out of my head. The betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. 7 years of marriage. Gone. Just like that. I knew I had to confront my husband, but I wasn't ready yet. I needed time to process. Later that night, after I put our son to bed, I sat my husband down and demanded the truth. He didn't even try to deny it. He admitted to the affair, said it had been going on for months. He begged me to forgive him, said it was just stupid and that he loved me, that he didn't want to lose our family. I couldn't believe the words coming out of his mouth. Stupid? That's what he called it? Stupid? How was I supposed to forgive him after seeing what I saw? After knowing he'd been lying to me for months? I didn't know what to say. I was so heartbroken, so angry, but mostly I was just empty. I told him I needed space, that I couldn't even look at him, and I went to sleep in our guest room. But I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. And then I thought about Emily's husband, Dave. Dave is a good guy. He's kind. He works hard. And I knew he had no idea what was going on. He was in the dark just like I had been, and I couldn't let him stay there. I knew I had to tell him, no matter how much it would hurt. He deserved to know the truth, just like I did. The next day, when I knew Emily wasn't home, I walked over to their house and knocked on the door. Dave answered, smiling as always, and my heart broke a little more. I asked if we could talk privately, and he led me inside, looking confused. And then I just told him. I laid it all out. The affair, the lies, everything. I even showed him the proof I had, the text between our spouses, the pictures, all of it. Dave was devastated. He sat there in shock, barely saying anything at first. And then he thanked me. He said he appreciated me being honest with him, even though it was the worst news he could hear. I thought that would be the end of it, but oh no. That's when the real storm hit. When my husband found out I told Dave, he lost it. He said I shouldn't have gotten him involved, that we should have worked it out between us for the sake of our son. He accused me of overreacting and blowing everything out of proportion. Then Emily came at me too. She called me every name in the book, told me I had no right to ruin her life by telling Dave that it was just a fling, nothing serious, and I should have kept my mouth shut. But here's the thing, was I supposed to sit quietly and pretend everything was okay while they carried on? Was I supposed to ignore my pain for the sake of protecting their affair? No, I couldn't do it. I won't apologize for that. Now everything's a mess. I've already filed for divorce, And from what I hear, Dave is considering the same. But people around us, mutual friends, neighbors, are starting to take sides. Some are saying I should have kept it quiet for the sake of our families. They're saying I overreacted by exposing everything and that I could have handled it better, more privately. But others say I did the right thing by not staying silent. I'm getting flack from all sides, and it's making me question myself. Did I go too far? Should I have kept it between my husband and me for the sake of our son? I feel like I did what I had to do, but I'm second-guessing everything now.